I caught my fiancé testing my food for poison at dinner. When confronted, he revealed a family secret that changed everything. I, 28F, never thought I'd be writing something like this on Reddit. My hands are still trembling as I type, and I've rewritten this opening paragraph at least 5 times. What I discovered last night has shaken my entire world, and I'm struggling to process everything that's happened in the last 24 hours. My fiancé and I have been together for 3 years, engaged for 6 months. We met through mutual friends at a charity event, and everything just clicked. He's successful, kind, and until yesterday, I thought I knew everything important about him. We've been living together for the past year in a beautiful downtown apartment, and our wedding was scheduled for this spring. Everything in our relationship has been nearly perfect. We rarely fight, share the same values, and both want children eventually. His family welcomed me with open arms, especially his sister, who quickly became like my own sibling. Looking back now, there were signs I should have noticed. Small things that seemed quirky, but not alarming at the time. He always insisted on preparing his own food when we first started dating, claiming he had some mild allergies. He was peculiar about where we ate out, only going to certain restaurants he'd vetted. When we moved in together, he became surprisingly particular about our kitchen organization, keeping certain cabinets locked to prevent any mix-ups. I just thought he was being health-conscious, maybe a bit obsessive, but nothing more sinister than that. Last night changed everything. It was our regular Friday date night, and I was cooking his favorite meal, herb-crusted salmon with roasted vegetables and a white wine sauce. We've done this dinner ritual every Friday since moving in together. Usually, he's in the kitchen with me, but he had a late meeting and told me to start without him. He got home just as I was finishing up. I was plating our food when I realized we were out of wine. We have a small wine fridge in the basement, so I told him I'd run down to grab a bottle. I was gone maybe 2 minutes. When I came back up, I stopped dead in my doorway, nearly dropping the bottle. My fiancé was bent over my plate, methodically touching what looked like test strips to every component of the meal. His movements were quick but precise, like he'd done this hundreds of times before. He had a small kit open beside him that looked medical, with various strips and vials. The expression on his face was one of intense concentration, his forehead wrinkled with worry lines I'd never noticed before. I must have made some sound because he suddenly looked up. The moment our eyes met, all the color drained from his face. He jerked backward, knocking over his chair with a crash that seemed to echo through our suddenly silent apartment. The test strips scattered across the table like confetti at a funeral. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice sounding strange and distant to my own ears. The wine bottle felt like it weighed 100 pounds in my hands. He started pacing, something I'd only seen him do once before, when his father died 2 years ago. His hands kept running through his hair, destroying the careful styling he maintains for work. "I can explain," he said, but then just kept opening and closing his mouth like a fish out of water. I carefully set the wine bottle on the counter, afraid I might drop it or throw it. I wasn't sure which urge was stronger. "Are you testing my food for poison?" The words felt ridiculous coming out of my mouth, like something from a bad mystery novel. The silence that followed my question was the longest moment of my life. He slumped into the remaining chair, and just broke. I'd never seen him cry before. Not at his father's funeral, not when we got engaged, never. But now he was sobbing deep, gut-wrenching sobs that shook his whole body. When he finally spoke, his story came out in broken fragments that I had to piece together. His mother's death 10 years ago wasn't from the aggressive cancer everyone believed in. She was poisoned systematically and deliberately, over the course of several months. By the time doctors figured out what was happening, it was too late. The family kept it quiet. They're well known in our city's business community, and a murder scandal would have destroyed them. He was 19 when it happened, just starting college. He described watching his vibrant, healthy mother slowly waste away, how she kept insisting something was wrong while doctors dismissed her concerns as anxiety or depression. By the time they found the poison in her system, her organs were already failing. She died 3 days later. The police investigation was quiet, kept out of the papers through his father's connections. They never found enough evidence to charge anyone, but his father had suspicions. Strong ones. About someone in the family. My fiancé developed severe anxiety and paranoia about food safety after that. He's been in therapy for years, but he never told me because he was ashamed. He was afraid I'd think he was crazy or leave him. He admitted he's been testing my food for the past year, ever since we moved in together. I sat there trying to process everything, my mind spinning with questions. Part of me was horrified that he'd been secretly testing my food for a year. Another part ached for the traumatized teenager who watched his mother die such a horrible death. But before I could sort out my feelings, he said something that made my blood run cold. Last month, his tests showed something unusual. He sent samples to a lab he knows through work. He's in pharmaceutical research, which suddenly explains so much. They found traces of something that shouldn't have been there. Low levels, but definitely present. That's why he's been so much more vigilant lately. Who? I whispered, though I think I already knew the answer. He looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. My sister started coming around more after we got engaged. She always insists on bringing food or helping in the kitchen. His sister. The same woman who's been bringing us homemade cookies every week. Who always insists on hosting family dinners. Who was mysteriously left out of their mothers will due to some falling out years before the poisoning started. The sister who's become increasingly involved in our wedding planning. The past few weeks started replaying in my mind with horrifying clarity. How she always brings food when she visits. How she insisted on helping me bake for his birthday last month. How she's been pushing to host our engagement party at her house. Little things that seemed sweet at the time now felt sinister. I threw up then, barely making it to the kitchen sink. Everything I thought I knew about my future family had just been turned upside down. My fiancé held my hair back, his hands trembling against my neck. That was 3 days ago. We've moved to a hotel under a different name. My fiancé's paranoia doesn't seem quite so irrational anymore. He's finally agreed to talk to the police quietly. They're investigating, but we've been advised to act normal for now. His sister has called 17 times since we missed Sunday dinner. Each time my phone rings, my heart stops. The police took samples from our apartment and are running tests. They're taking it seriously because of the history with his mother, but these investigations take time. Meanwhile, we're supposed to go about our lives like nothing's wrong. I had to call in sick to work today because I can't focus on anything. How do you concentrate on spreadsheets when you're afraid your future sister-in-law might be trying to kill you? My fiancé is falling apart with guilt. He keeps apologizing for dragging me into this, for not telling me sooner. He's offered to break off the engagement, to let me walk away from this whole nightmare. Part of me wants to run as far as I can. But a larger part can't bear the thought of leaving him alone with this. The detective we're working with thinks his father's heart attack 2 years ago might not have been natural causes. They're looking into exhuming the body, but that process is complicated and will take time. My fiancé barely sleeps now, convinced his father's death is his fault because he didn't see the pattern sooner. I don't even know what kind of advice I'm looking for. How do you build a marriage on a foundation of secret food testing and family murder mysteries? How do you move forward knowing your future sister-in-law might be a serial poisoner? The wedding is in 4 months. All the deposits are paid, invitations sent. His sister is supposed to be a bridesmaid. Every time I look at my engagement ring, I feel sick. Part of me understands why he kept this secret. How do you tell someone you're dating that your family has a hidden murder history? That you're so traumatized you test all your food? But another part feels betrayed by such a massive deception. I love him, but I don't know if I can live with this level of paranoia, even if it turns out to be justified. The police have advised us not to tell anyone else, which means I'm carrying this secret alone. My mom keeps calling about wedding details, and I have to pretend everything's fine. My best friend thinks I'm getting cold feet because I've been avoiding wedding dress fittings. The truth is, I don't know if there's going to be a wedding anymore. Edit. Thank you for all the responses. To clarify some common questions. 1. Yes, we have documentation of the recent test results showing traces of concerning substances. 2. The police are taking this seriously because of the history with his mother. 3. We're staying somewhere safe that his sister doesn't know about. 4. I've convinced him to look into intensive trauma therapy. 5. The police are handling all food testing now. We're not doing anything that might compromise evidence. Edit 2. Many of you are asking about his father's death. The police are investigating it now, but the process is complicated because of the time that's passed. We're being advised not to discuss details. Edit 3. His sister has started posting worried messages on social media about us being missing. She's trying to organize a family search. The police are monitoring the situation. Final update. 1 week later the police found evidence. I can't say much for legal reasons, but multiple arrests have been made. It wasn't just the sister. The wedding is postponed indefinitely while we deal with everything. My fiancé is in intensive therapy, and we're taking things one day at a time. Thank you all for the support and advice. Special thanks to those who recommended the security cameras. They provided crucial evidence. To those asking if we'll still get married, we love each other, but right now we're focused on healing and staying safe. Some days I'm not sure if we'll ever be normal again, but we're facing this together. If anything, this nightmare has shown me just how strong my fiancé is, and how much we can endure as a couple. Last edit. This blew up more than expected. Please stop trying to guess our identities or the company involved. Any comments with identifying information will be reported. Our safety depends on privacy right now.